6 o'clock, Monday, December 5th, 2022, the regular meeting of the Windsor Heights City Council. Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Here.
Joseph Jones.
Here.
Michael Libby.
Here.
Lauren Campbell.
Here.
And Teresa Harms.
Please join me in
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
who both the agenda.
Second.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Item 3, public forum. This is the time set aside for comments from the public on topics of city business other than those listed on the agenda. No action may be taken. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and keep your comments to no more than 5 minutes.
Hi, I'm Ricky King, 956 Main, and I'm the Greater Des Moines Sister City Commission representative of Windsor Heights. I'm just here to tell you what's been going on for the last year. About 9 months I've been. My game representative in March, for those who don't know, and as of August of this year, I became the Kofu and Sister City chairperson. And I had previously that for 2 years on as a volunteer. And what we've been doing is we're looking at getting a pen pal program started with different schools, hopefully with the Japanese teacher involved locally. We're looking at doing we'll be doing fundraiser for the Des Moines students in the metro area that go to Japan for student exchange next year. We've been gathering 5 lots of donations for a silent auction. We're looking at that for October to September next year. So it'll be for the 2025 school year that the students will be able to apply for a fundraiser, a scholarship to get some of the money that we raise. That note, sorry. We're also next year, it's not on. Sorry. And next year, we're looking at going to Kofu to do an exchange. Let me back up. It'll be me and the sister city chairperson, who was the Kofu chair before me. We'll be going to Kofu to do a look at going cultural exchange, economic exchange, and then hopefully, get the word. Where everyone else can do a group exchange. I think what I'm looking for. But we're looking at doing that next year, and part of that is the Yamanashi Prefecture is where Kofu is at, and they came over here this year. Some other people came here, so we're going back this year or this coming year to meet the people that were not there 5 years ago or 5 or more years ago when our people went, so we can set up a program. We want to make sure that we're staying in contact with them. They know what we're doing, what we're trying to do. Hopefully we can get someone representative here in Windsor Heights. My goal is to get that, but it's just going to be lay people going. The lay people are going. If you choose to go, you could go. We're asking mayors not to go at this time because it might change the dynamic of what we're trying to do. Then they're more focused on this, this. We want to kind of set up a program ahead of time so we know what we're laying out between all the mayors. So I'm sorry. But if you really want to go, we're not going to say no. We'll let you go.
Damage International.
And we do have other sister cities like Kofu, Kosovo, Pristina, Kosovo. They came here this year, and some of the sister city commissioners went there, and we're doing that kind of exchange. I don't know if anyone's been on the council when they've had these kind of exchanges before. So you know what I'm talking about. This will be my first year, and I liken it to the friendship course. People have been on long enough for that. And are there any questions that you guys might have on what I've been doing? I should say too, I'm also involved in the Japan American Society. I go there to their events. I volunteered to celebration and the Windsor Heights Fest as a representative. So I'm getting out there doing things, let people know that we are involved in this. Now, does anyone have questions?
Just want to say thank you for updating us and for, like you said, coming to the Winter Heights Fall Festival and chatting with people. I saw people stopping by and learning about programs. So I think that's great. Thank you so much for representing us so well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for doing it.
Thanks, Ricky.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? Okay. Consent agenda. Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Item 5A, discuss future of Colby Park projects in regard to the proposed WRA sanitary sewer project. This is.
Oh, I think we will, let's hear
Yeah.
Justin's presentation first and then there'll be some questions, guys.
Sure.
Justin Goldman. Just kind of a quick rundown of how this came about. Our last contract was the topographic survey of the park. With that process, we send out what we topoed the survey of and what's out there to all the utility companies that were on the one call. So that went to the WRA and along with other places, Des Moines Waterworks, private phone or cable or Mid-American Energy. So what came out of that was, once we sent that to them, they actually looked it over and were like, we have this project coming up in who knows what year, I guess. So what came out of that was they are essentially building this 45,000 feet of 60+ inch sanitary sewer from the Grimes area all the way down to downtown Des Moines. All they know, what they call it is parallel. So there's an existing line there now that runs through the park. Essentially, that line is staying. They're putting a new one to handle all the flows up in the northwest corner of Metro. So at this point, they have not hired a consultant to design it. Casey and I had a meeting. Casey's working on a plan with us, the parks plan. We had a call with them this morning, just kind of feel them out, see what they got going on. Since they don't have a consultant, they don't have a design right now. So the schedule is to hire someone, I say Marchish, to start design, and then go into that. So that could take a couple years. They're projecting this to be constructed like 2028, 2030 timeframe. They're gonna start up with the northwest corner and work their way down, is what they're deciding to do. So when we found out this news, we kind of sat down and decided how we're going to pursue this with the Colby Park options. So in my memo, I kind of outlined what I discussed, and we came up with 4 options. If there's more, we can discuss too. So option 1 just would be to proceed with design of phase 1 only with construction in summer 2023. Option 2 would be design of all phases with construction of phase 1 in 2023. And then we can kind of work with the WRA kind of maybe on a maybe possible different alignment going through the park. And then option 3, change kind of what each phase is. Maybe parts of phase 2 go into phase 1 or kind of switch.
We don't have.
To switch it up, just to maybe minimize the impact of the future alignment through there. And then phase 4 is just not to do anything. So kind of a quick rundown. The concept kind of shows the phases that we have from our meetings. With those phases, we included what the WRA line existing easement is. It's a 20-foot easement that is in the center of the pipe that's there now. They have no idea how they're going to come through with the new pipe. We kind of talked about maybe going through the grass area, following the trail more, following the creek more. They just have no idea at this point. So, of course, they can answer what they're doing, so. It's kind of that part, but. So we just gotta figure out what to do next, I guess, with the park project. We have the easement documentation from the previous easement, the existing easement that's there. Essentially, that says that if they have to do work, they have to replace any of this stuff that's above ground. So, yeah, that's kind of where we're at and how we want to proceed or how you'd like to proceed. If we have to think of some other options, mix match or some of these options that we provided as a way, or we kind of mix match type of thing. I don't know, Casey, you have anything else? Because you're the guy behind this.
Yeah, Casey Byers, landscape architect, Bolton Link. One thing to add, I would say, I think when we first got this news, it seemed relatively ominous about kind of holding the Kobe Park hostage for the next 10 years. But through our discussions with the WRA this morning, specifically, they understand kind of this is kind of the crown jewel of your community. This is your active community space, and so they understand kind of the weight that this has on the park, and are certainly open to options and exploring how this facility can get routed through the park. I think when they were looking at our plan, we were talking about the different types of amenities. They're certainly understandable about the need to try to avoid some of those larger facilities like the playground, the splash pad.
I'd like that to be away from the splash pad, the wastewater.
Right. But you know, this is certainly going to be an impact as far as design. You know, proceeding with a certain phase of design, you know, may be appropriate, and when they have their engineer on board, it'll certainly be a process that we would be able to facilitate with them and kind of work through the design completion of the park, as well as the preliminary design of their utility. So I think it's important to note that as this comes through the community, it's also going to impact the dog park as well. So this is going to go through Colby Park, underneath the freeway, and right through the dog park as well. So it'll certainly be a design coordination, but they are very open to working with you guys and us to come up with a solution that is least impactful.
I think my biggest question is who pays for all
So right now, I think, Aaron, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the easement, the existing easement, they would pay for any damages that they would incur digging this up. The existing one, obviously the new one, there's no easements, they don't have alignment, so I think that is probably up for negotiation of that. They mentioned that. From our discussions, that I don't think if there was something there, they know they're gonna have to put that. Because for instance, they're probably going to Walmart parking lot to get through there, so they have other things that they'll be replacing within the 45,000 linear feet of pipe that they're gonna have to do. So it's just, yeah, how you all want to proceed, and that, I guess, how maybe we mix match, like Casey said, but
Right, so currently the easement is the
The
yellow
yellow,
or
yep.
greenish color that you see up there. It's 20-foot easement. The easement document does not prohibit the city from building atop of the easement area. So sometimes you see it where you can't do anything in that easement space. You are not prohibited. The only things you cannot build in that easement space are park shelters, public toilets, or park maintenance buildings. But otherwise, it anticipates that there could be parks and parking lots and water mains and recreational trails and playground equipment. So all of that's in there. It also stipulates it's fairly favorable to the city. It stipulates that if they are going in to maintain or enlarge their existing infrastructure, they would pay for any repairs or replacement necessary. So in that sense, it's favorable to the city. They're going to have to come back and request another easement to do the new build. So then I think the question is, how do you guys coordinate with your partners to make that happen? As I said, that's least intrusive to the.
And I think there was some, looking back at the plans, the original sewer, I think there was a park there then, when the original sewer went in. Cause I remember seeing something in there replacing, equipment at that time. So I don't know if that's the equipment that's there now was put in with that sewer project or not, I don't, the time frame. I don't remember when this was put in. Maybe in the early nineties, if I remember right, or something like that. Does that sound?
The easement's in 2004,
Oh,
so that would be post the original structure in that area.
right. So how that came about. But I know the plans had a part, like, equipment there. And one thing that the WRA, granted, this is not official, but they're like, okay, for instance, for phase one, if the tennis court got put in 10 years, they're like, well, maybe it needs to be resurfaced or fixed at that point anyways. So it almost made like they were going to replace it at that point. And it doesn't look good that 10 years later it's replaced, but you know, it's kind of a,
I would say probably the biggest concern is in running directly through the middle playground.
like it is now.
Well, yes, but we're planning on spending.
No, and I know, like, and that, what they mentioned is it doesn't necessarily have to follow that one, that alignment. So even though they have an easement there now, they're not tied to following that in that new easement. It's something that big, they're not gonna put it right back if one breaks, have to get the other one up in 20 feet, it really isn't that much in the grand scheme of things when it's 20 feet deep, so. So that's why they're, like Casey mentioned, they're very open to talking about alignments when the time comes and how that works. They just don't have enough information right now to share.
And when the time comes, could be 5 years.
Yeah, it could be, I think he mentioned 2 years prior to design the whole thing, and they didn't know if they would do that in sequence. Cause I don't know if they have the funding to construct it, so they might design the north half. And then kind of do preliminary stuff down in the south part, and then kind of vice versa, keep on working, but their tentative plan was construction in 28, 2030. So. Whether that was true with budget or not. So, I don't even remember I don't even know if I asked them how much this whole project was gonna cost them. Not cheap. So that's the real unfortunate problem, if you're waiting to be, you don't know.
And as far as the construction goes, is it like, I don't know, you have to get switch and pushing it under, or are you talking like full, it's all for nothing?
So that was another conversation that we had with them is going under 235, they're gonna have to do a trench list. So that was another option they tossed out of, in this instance, they could maybe look at doing a trenchless operation, just a big pit somewhere else underneath. It's an option. It's just not known, I don't know. It's a lot of things going on, they weren't quite sure of at this point, unfortunately.
I think there's a lot of unknowns. We can sit here and wait for 10 years and nothing would happen. So I think we have to proceed with our plan.
Yep.
I think that would be my position. And work with them to try to avoid all of, if they come back in, it looks like there's some wiggle room, potentially to the west. And so hopefully we could look with, we'll work with them when that time comes. But stop and pretend that we're just gonna wait my position.
I would like to at least have some more talk with them, just to even put in kind of a little bit in writing, versus us going through and spending all of this money and then all of a sudden, comes back on the 5 of us that we're being fiscally irresponsible because we knew that this was coming through, and now all of a sudden our entire park is torn up because, as you said, plans are changing. So I would just like, I don't want to kind of jump all in and get all this taken care of and then have some ability for them to start this project earlier than anticipated. And we have all of this great work done. And then all of a sudden, well, we didn't ever sign that we would agree to this easement that if we went through that, we would put things back the way they were on the new easement. That's my concern, is we're spending a lot of money and to not have any idea what's going on. It's kind of scary to me. And I question us spending that much money without having a real in-depth conversation with them. I know that we're still, out, they're still out 10 years, but my concern is the fiscal, the money aspect. And I don't know if we can even talk to them early on about this easement and figure out their position on it, being that they don't even have an engineer, but it's a lot of money to try to explain to our residents, well, yeah, we knew this was going on, but we had a telephone agreement between our engineer,
Yeah, I guess then I might have better knowledge of the easement talk and just negotiations with them. I don't know how that all works with that entity.
Yeah, well, I mean, they would have a master easement document that they would submit for all the line they're trying to get. And typically, I would say, I mean, I've not done negotiations with WRA, but typically there's room for negotiation, especially given that we have previous easement with them. They know the situation. I mean, Bolden Bank's done a great job of alerting, all the utilities in the area that this could be a problem. We don't want it to surface later. So we're telling you now, this is the cost that the city is putting into this area. So, I mean, we could certainly say, let's try to put together an MOU that says you're gonna have to pay if you come through this route, but there's no way to have an actual easement document now, because we don't know where they want to go. Or how big. I mean, they probably don't even know how much space they need. They're gonna need temporary easements on top of permanent, if they don't have this like that.
What are the, as far as option one, or I'm sorry, well, option one, phase one, and that is, the least sort of, intrusive design phase with regards to this construction. What are the difference between the design costs for just phase one versus the remaining?
Oh, so if we design phase one or design it all, do you remember what that? Because we were literally gonna bring a design contract to council today or tonight, except for when this came across. So Dennis and us decided that probably wasn't the best idea. So I don't know if you remember what that was.
No, I think the full design contract was somewhere around 500,000 to design all phases and then take the first phase through construction. To separate out the first phase, I don't know if we actually,
I don't think we did
drill down into what that would be, because that's kind of right time we got this. So I think that there's, in those three options that we had in here, I think there's kind of merit to each of them, in terms of potentially looking at readjusting the phasing a little bit. Maybe there's more emphasis on what's shown in here is phase two. But I think getting some level of design done to understand, what the park design is going to take, to kind of coincide with when they get their engineer on board, I think would be beneficial. So I think it would just be a matter of looking at what you currently have budgeted and what you potentially may be budgeting for the next fiscal year, and then look at potentially readjusting the phasing and then starting design along with kind of their design process. But I don't have that dollar amount right now. You can certainly pull it together.
Does this affect any of our flood mitigation that I don't even know where our flood mitigation project is at currently, so I'm asking this, but the flood mitigation that we have, that's kind of in the air with JEO, right?
Right, so maybe we can ask Chief JEO to come and give us an update, but I think the last conversation, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but they're working on. Okay.
I couldn't tell
We
you.
got an update from them. I mean, let's just probably ask, Mike, can we ask them to come and give an update?
Yeah, I'm not sure where that.
Well,
That's right.
Yeah.
Or maybe.
yeah, I think more than that. I think they were looking.
Yep.
The last, so that's where we're at with that.
Sure.
I think it might be helpful, I mean, council's decision, but we can't just not do anything. That's. We said we were going to spend this money on the park, and we should spend this money on the park, but we also shouldn't just spend it recklessly. I would be very curious to know what sort of, if we were to proceed with, kind of a combination of 1 and 2, where we do phase 1 design / construction 2023. Following the other phases, as funding becomes available, talk to the WRA when they're there. That would probably be because if you're saying that the cost of design is happening, that's a lot. That's a lot. Of money for it might potentially come back and say, well, we want to do it differently now. So that would just be some information I think would be helpful. I suggestion.
Knowing that our park projects have, obviously some funding limitations too tied to them, so that we know that it's not just gonna happen back to back. I'm still kind of interested in option 2, so that we have a plan in place, so that as, the WRA gets their consultant on board and they're doing their design, we have a fully baked design that we can work with. That, if we only have phase 1 fully designed and they're wanting to talk about easements and we don't have the rest of the park fully designed, I think it's a lot harder to say, hey, we need to do this because of this other thing that we're gonna do. Basically, it puts us in the exact position that we're in right now, right? Of this is what we're going to do. We don't have the timeline, we don't have the final design documents, right? So I think there's merit in considering option 2, moving forward with phase 1 and having the design finalized for everything so that we were ready to have those conversations when the WRA is.
How long will design take?
I mean, for phase 1, I think we broke it down into doing it by phase. If you find on, because the original phase was to construct phase 1, right? So that design was going to happen right away, and kind of in conjunction, the other ones would happen, but not right. No, kind of it could have held off. Is that what kind of what we're thinking?
Yeah.
It's just as far as timeline, I don't know. We did it all at one shot.
I think we were thinking probably like a 7-month design period. From start to finish.
Forever.
And we've already done survey and stuff taken off. That was one of the big lead times.
Yeah, our original intent was kind of start into design December, January, February of phase 1, and be designing on the additional phases, but then have that phase 1 project ready to bid right away in the spring. And then we would continue into designing the rest of it out with the original intent of bidding that somewhere in the August timeframe to coincide with the next fiscal year. But I think we estimated probably about a 7-month design process.
I also think we need to continue with the design because that impacts our ability to go after grants and all of those sorts of things as well. I do understand and agree that we need to continue to have conversations with and work with the WRA, but I don't think we can and just sit and do nothing, so.
That's a great point about the funding, because that was another, we have some funding options in the mix that kind of, I think one was a Walmart grant, and I can't remember what the other one, I believe there's two of them, but. So it's kind of. That's put on hold until, I guess we figure this out as well, so. Glad you brought that up.
Michael? What do you need from us?
Oh, I think we just need to know next step, one of those options. So the next step would be, depending upon what you decide, bring in a design contract. Yes, for the next council meeting, maybe. Get it done by. Or the first one in January.
So I would move that we move forward with option two.
Second,
Can I ask a question? You absolutely can. If you come to the podium, I'll do this. So my name is Barry Hess. I'm 6450 Colby. And, you know, I don't know, it's the end of the year. I didn't hear a lot of solid information. I understand that this is going on for a long time, but so why don't you wait till the engineers at least have some kind of overview thing? It doesn't make sense to vote to move forward when you are gonna maybe have to completely scrap what you're trying to design. I didn't hear a lot of confidence in these guys, and they're usually pretty confident. My opinion.
Gary, just a quick question. So you say when hiring the engineer, you say you're asking why not wait until the URA hires their.
You're an old farm girl. You don't start building the building and then rip out the basement and build it again.
No, I just want to make sure I understand what you're saying.
I don't know what I'm saying because I haven't read all that stuff.
All right,
So I'm just saying, I don't know why you have to make a decision tonight. What's 30 days? What's 60 days? What's 90 days to get better information to make a decision? That's all I'm saying. Well, for clarification, it seems to be that they're not even talking about hiring a consultant until potentially March of 2023, right?
Yeah, I think the RFP just literally came out from what I saw. I think there's an RFP on their website, but the due date was wrong. I think it said October. But I don't know of this last year, so I don't know. We're trying to track that down, but sound like from our conversation that they just sent RFPs out and they're in the process, and that could take 2 to 3 months. And they thought the design for just their sewer park would take 2 to 3 years for the whole stretch. And they might focus on the northwest corner and not this one, so that could. Like you said, there's so much unknown on this point, I can't guarantee you anything, so it's.
Okay. I mean, why wouldn't you? Hold on. So. When is construction supposed to begin on, if we follow our phasing in 2023?
Probably April, March. May. Yeah. That'd be on phase 1.
Yeah, I do. So I mean, why wouldn't you bring the people in that they're trying to depend on, and you guys hear it and for yourselves, and not try to take the burden off of you guys? You shouldn't be making a decision based on everything they don't know. At least take, like I said, what's 30 days? What's 60 days? What's 90 days? Bring the boys in here and make them do a presentation to you.
I don't think they have a presentation.
Well, then let them tell you that. At least they can tell you something. Not gonna vote on air? You gonna just vote on the air? Hold on. What?
So, Justin, you found out about this, again, this was a day, right?
This was noon today.
When he made the call, right? Didn't I hear you say that?
All right,
It's not fair to him. It's not fair to them.
well, do you, I guess first off, there's a motion on the table, so we're gonna get back to that. Do you see any value in asking for some more information from them as far as timeframes, anything like that?
At this
Can
point
they
in
come in
time,
and tell us?
I doubt it.
All right,
I don't think they're gonna tell you much until they hire.
and that's not gonna be done much. Potential.
May I one thing, very in option two, I want to read what the option says fully. So proceed with the design of all phases of phase one of construction this summer 2023. Follow with construction on other phases as funding becomes available. So we know that that's going to be a process. We have to have a design in place in order to get funds from grants. This would allow for the seamless design and consideration of the entire site. During this process, we, Bolton May, would consult with the WRA hired consultant when available. So the plan, I just wanted to provide that to you because the plan, the option two that Teresa made the motion and I second includes getting their consultant in as soon as they've hired one.
Okay, and I'll ask you the question. Why does it have to be done now? Another 30 days, you might have more information to make a sounder decision before you did move on any of those options. Why does it have to be done tonight?
The question is no. It does not have to be tonight, but the motion has been made. Or has been done tonight. Any other public comment?
I did receive an email from a resident saying that they would like option number 4. And they would amend that to delay all proposed park improvements until the designs are coordinated with the designs for the proposed WRA sewer and the proposed Windsor Heights flood mitigation improvements. They feel that the funds budgeted in 2023 to be used to with the funds that were budgeted in 2023 for the designs and the park project be used to flood-proof the community center, hopefully before it is flooded and damaged. And you know, when the community center is flood-proof, the flood insurance will no longer be needed and the operating budget can be reduced.
Any other discussion?
Justin, to what time frame do you guys need to continue the planning process, like to get us where we need to be?
I guess that comes down to when you want work to start in the park. Ideally, bidding is early January, February-ish to get some good prices, but then you also want a long construction year to finish the project, so that kind of would determine how long or when you want to do this. If we don't start till later, then we might bid it. Who knows who's available to construct some of that stuff, and you might not get it done this year. Or in this current fiscal year is probably out the window if you push it too much farther. You just have to roll into next fiscal year or construct it in 2024. That is really, for us to design, we can design all year long, it's just running on it.
So from that perspective, timing is of the essence.
Right, and that was one reason about the survey contract too, is just timing with, the plan was, while we're deciding some of the stuff, we could at least get surveyed of the park while this was going on, so it saved us 3 or 4 weeks and not have snow, and luckily we did that, but yes, it just kind of pushes things along, which is a bad thing, I don't know. I certainly want, so having part is a really good answer, I guess. And how funding works, I'm assuming the funds could get pushed over to the next year as well.
This year, there's fiscal year 23, there's 1,735,000 budgeted for these projects.
And phase one also includes the accessibility changes that we've been talking about for a long time, the parking on the
Yes.
northeast side of the community center that will add a ramp and a handrail to make it more accessible.
Correct.
As part of
So,
phase one as well.
yeah, so phase one was really the parking, the tennis court and the fitness circuit was phase one.
Any other questions, discussions? All right, there's a motion on the table and a second for option 2. That being, proceed with the design of all phases, phase 1 construction in summer of 2023. Followed with construction on other phases as funding becomes available. This will allow for seamless design and consideration of the entire site. During this process, we at the BMI would consult with the WRA hired consultant when available. Roll call.
Teresa Harms. Lauren Campbell,
Yes.
Joseph Jones,
Yes.
Michael Libby,
Yes.
Susan Skiris.
No.
Thank you, Justin.
So we will bring design contracts next council meeting. So we're free. Yeah. Yeah, we're still having that council meeting. I'm assuming.
The 19th.
Thank you. Yep.
Item 5B, consideration of resolution number 2022-54, a resolution appointing Bill Switcher as interim city administrator, and Bill Goodrich as interim public works director.
Second.
This was included in a staff report, but to give a summary of this resolution, public works director position has been vacant for a decent amount of time, and the former city administrator took those responsibilities over. With the city administrator leaving, someone needs to assume responsibilities. As the public works director, we have spoken to Bill Goodrich, the assistant public works director, and Bill is happy to take on responsibilities. In that same vein, with the departure of the city administrator and the fact that we are only discussing the search firms for replacing him tonight, there will obviously be a gap in coverage and responsibilities for the city administrator. And that is why we have spoken to the finance director, Michelle Swisher. Michelle is willing to take on those responsibilities until or if a full-time interim is placed. And so the Personnel and Finance Committee is making the recommendation to appoint them as the interims in the time being. Any discussion or questions on that? Hearing none, roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
5C, consideration of administrative search firm proposals. There were a number of requests for RFPs. We put it as request for proposals for consultant for city administrator, and we got back 4 answers. Their proposal to replace the city council packet. They are pretty lengthy. So the ask is just for council to discuss, decide upon one if appropriate, and direction be given to staff to facilitate the execution of the contract to hire them to find our city. So council.
Mayor, I was impressed by attachment for 1, the amount former a great deal of knowledge about our community. That may be helpful.
I kind of went through, just because there were so many pages to look through, and it was kind of some of the pricing and the options were in weird spots. So I just kind of went through, and it looks like Gov HR recruitment fee 18,500, recruitment expenses not to exceed 1,500, advertising 2,500, so a total of 22,500. 12-month guarantee, but must be requested within 6 months of the employee's departure. No additional fee, like if they leave, no additional fees will be incurred if the client doesn't make a selection from the initial group of recommended candidates and request additional candidates be developed for interview consideration. I know that it took us 2 times last time, so that was something that I kind of looked at to see. Municipal Solutions out of Phoenix, the recruitment was $22,500, which includes all travel expenses, advertising, and preliminary background checks. There's expenses and fees with comprehensive finalist background checks and candidate travel for interviews that will be invoiced separately, but I think that's also HR, how they did that. There's a 2-year warranty. Within first year, there's no fee. Second year is expenses only. And if we're not satisfied with any candidates they present, they will repeat the search until we are satisfied. Then I like that there was activity 5 was transition assistance and warranty. Approximately 6 months after they hire, they conduct a team building workshop at no charge and assist in the employee's evaluation at 6 and 12 months at no additional cost. And then Ask Renee Narlock and Associates out of Tallahassee. Professional fees, $17,500 plus actual expenses. Expenses estimated not to exceed $6,500. So I put that at about 2,300-ish, 2,400 or 24,000, somewhere in there. Guarantee 1 year if candidate is terminated for cause. Search will begin again for free with the exception of expenses. And then I'm not exactly sure how to say Thea. Is it Thea Management? Out of Bondurant, $12,000. $2,500 reimbursable expenses not to exceed that number, $1,200 for an optional 6-month review. Then we also have to add on the extra council meeting fees because the person is not able to attend our regular meetings due to conflict with her meetings. And then we have to do the background check waiver, provide information and photos for the community profile document. And I didn't see anything on there about guarantee or warranty. So I think they were all pretty close in fees. Oh, I didn't know, like, was I supposed to, I
They're
didn't,
taking a pause.
I'm not really too sure, sorry. After all my research. I, if I had to come up with one, I think I would probably do the Municipal Solutions, just because of that activity number 5, everything else that was presented, but, I think it's all about the same. And that's it. The Municipal Solution.
It was not necessarily. What I saw.
Susan, thanks for doing the side-by-side comparison. Was GovHR the one that we had some concerns about from some of city staff? So I'm glad that isn't the front runner. Or I should say, I don't feel like that would be the front runner for me. And it sounds like, especially since the price is coming in similar, it's not some large advantage of going with them. I like the Municipal Solutions out of Goodyear, Arizona. Their timeline, like they said, offer late February, but that had it starting, I think, today, starting their search. So I think that probably will push out just a little bit, but the timeline seemed pretty reasonable. And I like the 6-month team building and doing the assessment stuff and helping guide us through that. 'Cause I think that's a big opportunity for us. That's all.
I agree. I think that their value adds, are different, and that is certainly inviting based on the associated costs for each one, as you articulated, and so I think that's, of interest as well, so, I would make a motion that we go with municipal solutions.
I'll second that.
Any questions, staff?
This guy's been nice to work with. Been polite over emails.
Flat on the phone too.
They're trying to get a contract.
We didn't just fall off the turnip truck.
You want my 2 cents? He was good on the phone.
All right, well, Farms made a motion.
I did.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell
Yes.
and Teresa Harms.
Yes.
5B, consideration of meeting.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Between our December 19th meeting and Tuesday, January 17th, there's 29 days without a council meeting. I know after, I think it was our Labor Day gap, we had a really long meeting that we came back to. I think there was even some football that Susan missed that night from the Bills.
Of course.
So, and then there's also a couple other places where we've got 28-day gaps. So, sorry, December 19th to January 17th is 29 days, and then it's another 20 days till Monday, February 6th. And so I wondered if we should consider meeting January 9th and 23rd instead, since we are without city administrator and, or without a permanent city administrator and without a permanent public works director. So that we can provide our interns most support possible. Did I print off calendars to show the side-by-side comparison? I did. Let me see on the right here.
I don't, just out of curiosity, why did we, was the 17th selected? That's sort of like that kind of just-
The Tuesday,
Yeah,
because we got MLK day off, so we floated to Tuesday. Last year we didn't have the first one in January, mainly because of staffing. And this year where holidays go, I'll have the meeting in December, then I'm not here that whole week before. So there won't be any agenda to put out. Other cities like Bondurant, like there's Labor Day one, they'll move that to Wednesday instead. To do that, you and I talked about that meeting at the league conference, that September meeting. I think that had a lot to do with agenda management. There's kind of an art to it, so. And also I think we're gonna be having a lot of special meetings with this administrator process too. So if there's other business we need to work in, we can work it in on specials. But I'm opposed to whatever you guys, not opposed to whatever you want to do.
Just a couple of comments. I was gonna say the same thing. Obviously, we've done this because we need a special due to that. We can certainly do that. We've done that in the past. I do recognize in the past, we moved it, if the holiday is on a Monday, we moved our meeting to a Tuesday. So open to that, for consideration for that same week as well. I will caution us against January 9th. That's the first day back of the legislature, and that's also the back reception where cities to have that event. So I would ask us to stay with that because we do participate in that. Or invited to participate in that as a city council or as a community. But open to the days, or if we want to just know that we have those on call as the need arises.
Matt and I would not be available the night. other cities. Not that you guys can't have a meeting without us, but this would not be here.
You got a big firm.
Yeah, we do.
Well, if council you want to make, as Ms. Campbell's suggesting, special dates, we can do that. Otherwise, I am more than happy to call special council meetings as they will not, if things come up during, say, if things come up during the gaps, in these timeframes, we will not just be patient for the next month. I thought it was good. As soon as possible. I can give you that chance.
And I no longer think this is a brilliant idea. I'm going.
It was. Really nice. Still is.
Would you like to hand us out the visual aids and about it? Because I did not do visual aids for mine. I mean,
Is there any other discussion? Concern of importance of council? Hearing none.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
6, report. The ad hoc public works director hiring committee will be this Wednesday. To go through applications, we don't have them narrowed down to around 3 candidates. Assuming that goes well, we will then, assuming that goes well, we'll then try to schedule interviews as soon as practical. And I have been suggesting that I am hopeful there will be someone appointed, a recommendation made to council as far as a public works director by the end of the year or around New Year's. Personnel and finance committee continues to discuss potential full-time interim, whether or not we're wanting recommendation for council to be doing that or not. Probably a few other things I'm forgetting, but I wanted to give you those 2 updates, and those things are proceeding. Obviously, I decided on a consultant tonight, and so that will be one more thing. And I believe we are going to talk to Chief McCluskey about his successor here, the Personnel and Finance Committee, about what steps we want to take as far as his successor goes. Not this week, because my understanding is very swamped, but very soon. Ms. Harms.
It's been a busy couple of weeks. First of all, thank you to all of the staff, all of the council who participated, Lauren, Joseph, and Susan, for all of your help, and all of the participants and all of our sponsors for Windsor Wonderland. I did not have Susan Clicker going around counting numbers, but hundreds of people came out to the event and participated in our inaugural. And it was just, it was a lot of fun. But it was really wonderful to see all of these people come out for an evening in Colby Park, in our little gemstone, our little diamond in the rough, and it was huge success. So I'm just really, really grateful for everybody's help to pull it off. A huge thank you to Adam for all of his work, because I would not have been able to do what I did without him. So I just really wanted to recognize all of his efforts. And anyways, so also a shout out to Public Works, Brian and Travis, and then Brian and Jason, Austin, thank you. And then Travis and Rochelle, who also were on duty and on deck and all hands on deck and did an amazing job. So thank you again. Couldn't have done it without you, and for being willing and able to, just roll with the punches when we needed to shift gears. And so everybody did great, and I'm so very thankful. Sponsors, just real quick: Big Shop, Bankers Trust, HWCBD, Windsor Heights Foundation, Hy-Vee, American Energy, Ray Gun, Polk County, again, all made this possible with financial and other contributions. So just, I'm super excited to have it come back next year. And if anybody has any recommendations on improvements, we'll gladly take those. We're working with Adam to get an update on post on Facebook, but all holiday lights winners, then the gingerbread, and then the fun run winners. We'll get those all posted online. And I think probably the biggest hits of the night were probably Santa and carriage rides. If I had to say what were the two most popular, so but all things were a huge success. So if anybody's looking for where to go for holiday lights, by the way, if you haven't driven through, we have really great lights everywhere throughout our community right now. But our winners, we had 3 winners on Sunset. So take a stroll down Sunset. We had one on Maryland and one on Jefferson. So if you're looking for where to go, those would be the places. Second, Bravo attended on last Wednesday for Lauren. They made their 2023 grant awards, a budget of $3.6 million. It's the largest they've made to date. And they're really excited that they're really transitioning the process to align with their strategic plan, and have been really focused on that. So kudos to them. It was the first time I participated, and I was really impressed, and it was a great meeting. So I learned a lot, got lots of updates about how the award selection kind of came about. Second, gala, I think we've got our table, so it'll be super fun, and they've got some exciting things. And then finally, I think personnel and budget committee has been very busy, a little busy. And so we met today with all staff, and we're communicating with them. And I think that's the important thing for folks to know, that we're going to do our best to keep making sure everybody knows what's going on, and communicating, keeping, everything moving smoothly as we deal with the transitions that we've got here in the next several months. There's one more thing. Oh, December newsletter, we're going to add them on that right now. And so that should be out in mailboxes by the end of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you to Teresa and for everybody for the Windsor Wonderland. It was fantastic, had a lot of fun. And so did Andrew. So and he stole your quicker comment, so that's why we didn't have. And thank you also to Teresa for covering for me for Bravo last week. Public safety meeting is meeting next week on the 13th. And then on the 16th is our next special events committee. I know that Susan and I are going to start working on the calendar for next year. I think one of the great things with Windsor Wonderland is we have the movie Friday night, and then Saturday were the rest of the events. So it's like one big weekend event. So us planning in advance and work on the calendar, I think we'll need to more of those next year.
And we have a few weeks, actually a few months off to recover from all of our special events that we've
We'll
thrown.
find something to do. We'll find something to do.
We have darts tomorrow. Having a search committee for replacing CEO. So get underway very soon. Here.
Let's see. On Giving Tuesday, the 29th, I was able to volunteer at the Central Iowa Shelter and Services by serving breakfast to those at the shelter. I was able to chat with city council members from Des Moines, as well as our Iowa legislative representative Jennifer Comverst, as well as the governor who was there serving breakfast. So it was a great event to volunteer at, and I encourage everyone to think about volunteering there next year. The people receiving the breakfast were very appreciative of us volunteering our time at 6 o'clock in the morning. And I was asked lots of questions about why I took the time to volunteer and where I lived. Which, fun times, but thank you to all who volunteered and helped to make Windsor Wonderland a successful weekend. Thank you to Therese and her staff for the planning of Saturday's events. On Friday, we had over 200 people in attendance for the Elf movie. Thank you to Matt Kale with State Farm for sponsoring the movie. I heard a lot of great things about the movies in the park series. So many people commented how they were so happy that we are continuing with these events and how much their family enjoys attending them. I also had a few people that wanted to volunteer to help with these events. So of course I wrote them in and got their information because we always want volunteers. So I can say that Windsor Heights 2022 special events were a huge success this year. And thank you to everyone who volunteered, sponsored, and attended all of these great events. Thank you to council, mayor, and city staff for all your help in making these events successful. I know Adam really got thrown in. Fall Festival followed up with everything else, so we appreciate you staying with us. If you haven't already, like Therese said, grab a hot chocolate or a peppermint tea, turn on the holiday music, and drive the streets of Windsor Heights. Sunset Terrace, Maryland, and Jefferson are well decorated. But as I drove around last night, I noticed that there were also a lot of other houses that were decorated for the holidays in Windsor Heights. So it was nice to see that more houses are being decorated this year. We have a strategic visioning meeting tomorrow night with Cassandra Halls and Scott. That was more so that I remembered that we had the meeting, but and then on December 7th, I'll be attending the National Civility Summit via Zoom. And I also have a Metro Waste Authority Executive Finance Committee meeting at noon, so I will be busy for a little bit there.
And don't forget 79th Street. We're lit up too.
Oh, I forgot about that. I'm sorry, Kale. And visit 79th Street. Kale has been working on passing up Jefferson, so I forgot about that.
And every house on 80th Street Court, Circle Drive is lit.
And 80th Court. So I mean, we've got some competition here going on.
We're gonna have a street competition
I was
next year.
gonna say.
Except for not near Lawrence Street. Ours is just police lights. They are decorated.
That's because you guys are on public safety. Are you sure?
And then, I forgot tomorrow night.
Yes.
So, tomorrow night. Okay. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Roll call.
Susan Skiris.
Yes.
Joseph Jones.
Yes.
Michael Libby.
Yes.
Lauren Campbell.
Yes.
And Teresa Harms.
Thanks, everyone. Before you do. Travis, what have you got? You have the partnership list for?
I have most of them in my calendar. And I was gonna send out an email. Yeah, I think you're the only one I haven't.
What's
The partnership is.
Did you? You did.
Yes.
You're on. One.
You're not,
You have a plus one.
Yeah.
You have a plus one. Yeah. And were you were going to.
Also, and I'm not making Darren go.
Okay, so it's just you.
I can only bribe him so much.
All right, so everybody is accounted for.
Yeah.
I think we wanted to know as far as the partnership.
Yeah.
Because then we could make the determination about.
Because I think the chamber thinks we are doing half the table.
Okay.
So
I'll shoot you an email.
Shoot me an email tomorrow.
I will. Yep, I will. Yep, I had it on my list.
And is the meeting tomorrow here or?
It's in the community center.